Welcome, my dear friends, to this moment of reflection and deep thought. I invite you to join me as we explore a profound teaching that lies at the very heart of Buddhism. This teaching, though simple in its expression, has the power to transform our lives, our perspectives, and our inner peace. I'm speaking of the law of impermanence, known in the ancient teachings of Buddhism as anicca. What is impermanence? It's a truth so simple yet so profound that it changes the way we view ourselves and our world. To put it plainly, impermanence means that nothing in life stays the same. Everything changes. Our feelings, our relationships, our bodies, the seasons, even the very nature of the universe itself. Imagine the seasons, for example. Winter turns to spring, spring to summer, and summer to fall. This cycle of change is inevitable and constant, and it holds true not only for the earth, but for everything in our lives. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, but doesn't this sound a bit unsettling? Doesn't the idea that everything changes so constantly mean that we can never find stability, never truly hold on to something that lasts? And I understand that feeling. There's a part of all of us that longs for stability, that wants to grasp onto those beautiful moments and hold them forever. But here's the key, my friends. Resisting change is not the answer. In fact, resisting change is where we get stuck, where we suffer. Think about it for a moment. How often do we try to hold on to something that we know will eventually slip away? How often do we grasp at moments of happiness, desperately wishing they could last forever, only to find that they fade away just as quickly as they came? Or on the flip side, how often do we struggle against pain or hardship, wishing that the difficult moments would disappear instantly? We're so caught up in the idea of holding on to the good and avoiding the bad that we forget the deeper truth, that everything is always changing. This is where anicca, the law of impermanence, offers us a powerful lesson. What if, instead of resisting change, we embraced it? What if we allowed ourselves to flow with the changes of life instead of fighting them every step of the way? Think about the nature of a river. It moves constantly, its waters ever flowing, always shifting. And yet in that constant change, there is an underlying peace, a quiet strength. The river does not resist the rocks in its path. It does not fight the changes in the landscape. Instead, it moves around them, gracefully accepting each moment as it comes. In the same way, we too can learn to move through life with grace. The Buddhist teaching of anicca invites us to shift our mindset. Instead of fearing change, we are called to accept it, even welcome it. The ebb and flow of life is natural. Just as the seasons change, so too do our lives. It's all part of the grand cycle. And when we accept the truth of impermanence, we are liberated from the constant anxiety of trying to control or hold on to the unholdable. Now, I'm not suggesting that it's easy. Change can be frightening. When we face the loss of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or a shift in our career or health, it can feel overwhelming. But this is where the practice of mindfulness becomes so important. Buddhism teaches us that while change is inevitable, our suffering comes from our attachment to what we think should be permanent. It's in the clinging to things, whether good or bad, that we suffer. And the more we cling, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment and pain. But the beauty of the law of impermanence is that it's not just a reminder of loss. It's also a reminder of renewal. In each moment of change, there is the potential for new beginnings. Just like the leaves of a tree fall away in autumn, making space for new growth in the spring, our lives too are in a constant state of renewal. What if, instead of fearing the end of something, we looked forward to the new possibilities that could arise? What if we could find the freedom in knowing that each moment is a fresh start, a new opportunity to embrace the present without being burdened by the past? This shift in perspective, my friends, is the key to peace. By recognizing that nothing lasts forever, we are able to free ourselves from the need to control and hold on. We stop fighting against the natural course of life. Instead, we learn to dance with the flow of existence, to trust that change, no matter how difficult, is leading us to something new, something we may not yet fully understand, but something that is a part of the greater tapestry of our lives. Now I invite you to think about your own life for a moment. What are you holding on to? Is there a moment of joy or a relationship that you are desperately trying to preserve, fearing that it will slip away? Or perhaps there is a challenge or difficulty that you are struggling against, wishing it would just end. I encourage you to reflect on the truth of Anicca, that everything, both good and bad, will pass. This is not a cause for sadness, but for peace. For when we accept that change is the nature of all things, we can embrace each moment with open arms, knowing that nothing lasts forever, and that is both a gift and a source of freedom. The challenge, my friends, is not in the change itself, but in how we respond to it. When we fight against change, we create suffering for ourselves. But when we learn to flow with it, to meet life as it is with open hearts, we find peace. We become like that river, constantly moving, adapting, and finding strength in each moment, knowing that the water will never be the same again. But that's okay, for in that change there is beauty, there is life. So I encourage you today, let go of your attachments. Release the need to hold on to things that are fleeting. Instead, embrace the flow of impermanence. Know that every moment, no matter how difficult, will pass. And that, in itself, is a beautiful thing. For in the end, it is not the things we cling to that define us, but the grace with which we move through life, embracing each change as it comes. This is the true wisdom of the law of impermanence, the path to inner peace and serenity. As you move forward today, remember, nothing lasts forever, and in that truth there is freedom. Let go and let life flow. Thank you for your time and presence today, and may you find peace in the flow of life's ever-changing river. In our busy lives, it's easy to forget that everything we do, think, or say has consequences, not just for ourselves, but for everyone around us. This is where the teaching of karma comes into play, a central concept in Buddhism that holds the power to change the way we understand the world and our role in it. Karma, contrary to what many people believe, is not about divine retribution or reward. It is not about punishment or praise from a higher being. Instead, karma is a natural law that governs our lives in the same way gravity governs the physical world. Let's think about it this way. Imagine you're standing by a still lake and you toss a stone into the water. The moment the stone hits, the surface ripples begin to form. They spread outward in all directions, touching everything they encounter. Now, apply this simple image to your actions, thoughts, and words. Every action, every thought, and every word you express is like that stone. It creates a ripple, And just as the ripples on the water expand and reach far beyond the point of impact, the energy from your actions, words, and thoughts touches the world in ways you might not even realize. These ripples can affect not only your life, but the lives of others as well. And often we don't see the effects immediately, just as you may not see the farthest ripples in the water right away. But they are there, moving through space, shaping the world around them, shaping our present and ultimately shaping our future. When we act with kindness, patience, and compassion, we are sending out positive ripples into the world. These ripples create harmony, peace, and love. They bring joy and help others around us feel valued, seen, and cared for. The world becomes a better place when we consciously choose to live from a place of love and understanding. And here's the profound truth: just as positive actions create positive ripples, negative actions also create their own ripples. If we act out of anger, resentment, or hatred, we are sending out energy that will return to us in ways that can create suffering, isolation, and pain. Those negative ripples don't just affect the person we may have wronged. They come back to us, often in ways we least expect, creating cycles of negativity that continue to shape our lives and the lives of others. But how do we break these cycles of negativity? How do we ensure that the ripples we send out into the world are ones that lead to growth, peace, and happiness? The answer lies in mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present, of being aware of our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. It is about paying attention to the subtle ways we interact with the world around us and making conscious choices. When we live with mindfulness, we are better equipped to recognize when our thoughts or actions are rooted in negativity. We can pause, reflect, and make a different choice. Instead of reacting in anger, we can respond with patience. Instead of holding on to grudges, we can let go and forgive. When we choose to live consciously, we are more likely to create ripples of kindness and compassion, which not only help to heal ourselves, but also help to heal the world. You see, karma is not about the belief that everything we do is watched by some divine force, ready to punish us for our wrongdoings. It is not about a system of reward and punishment. Karma is about energy. It's about the law of cause and effect. Just as the energy we put into a situation comes back to us, so too do the thoughts, words, and deeds we express. It's like planting seeds in the soil. The seeds we plant today will determine the harvest we reap tomorrow. If we plant seeds of love, understanding, and compassion, we will reap a future filled with peace and joy. If we plant seeds of anger, fear, and hatred, we will reap the consequences of those emotions in our future. This is why it is so important to be mindful of our actions, to take care in how we move through the world, and to understand that every choice we make has a ripple effect. But let's be real for a moment. It's not always easy to act with kindness and compassion. Life is filled with challenges that can trigger anger, frustration, and even despair. People hurt us, situations test our patience, and the world can often feel like a place filled with injustice. However, the true power of karma lies in our ability to choose how we respond to these challenges. While we cannot control every circumstance in our lives, we do have the power to control how we respond to those circumstances. We can choose to react in ways that are grounded in mindfulness, or we can choose to let the negative emotions we feel guide our actions. The choice is always ours, and it's important to recognize that karma is not immediate. Often, we don't see the effects of our actions right away. Sometimes the ripples we send out take time to return to us. This can be frustrating, especially when we make a positive change in our lives and we don't see the results right away. But this is where trust comes in. We must trust in the natural law of karma, knowing that everything we put into the world will eventually come back to us, even if it takes time. Just as a seed doesn't sprout overnight, the positive energy we send out may take time to grow, but it will grow, and it will return to us in ways that benefit us and the world around us. When we understand karma as a law of cause and effect, it becomes clear that every action, no matter how small, matters. Every time we choose to speak kindly, to act with patience, to show love and understanding, we are contributing to a world that is filled with more peace and more harmony. But every time we choose to speak harshly, to act out of anger, to hold onto negative thoughts and emotions, we are contributing to a world that is filled with suffering. The beauty of karma is that it gives us the power to shape our world and our future. It reminds us that we are not victims of fate. We are creators of our own destiny. So what can we do to live in alignment with the natural law of karma? First and foremost, we can start by being mindful. We can pay attention to our thoughts, words, and actions, and notice when they are rooted in negativity. We can take a moment to pause, reflect, and make a more conscious choice. We can practice patience, kindness, and compassion in our daily lives, even when it's difficult. We can choose to act from a place of love instead of fear, and work toward healing ourselves and others. By doing so, we not only create a positive ripple effect in our own lives, but we also contribute to a world that is filled with more peace, more understanding, and more love. Ultimately, karma teaches us that we are all connected. The ripples of our actions touch the lives of others, and the energy we send out into the world will return to us in ways that shape our future. So, let us choose to live consciously, with mindfulness and compassion, knowing that the ripples we create today will shape the world of tomorrow. Every action, every thought, every word matters, and when we choose to live in harmony with the law of karma, we not only create a better life for ourselves, but we also create a better world for all. Let me take you on a journey that dives into a profound and transformative concept, a concept that lies at the heart of Buddhist teachings: attachment and suffering. If you pause and think about it for a moment, you'll realize that almost everything in our lives is shaped by attachment. We attach ourselves to people, places, ideas, emotions, and material things, often believing that these things will bring us happiness, fulfillment, and security. We invest so much of our time and energy into them, thinking they are the keys to our joy, that when they change or fade away, we are left feeling broken, lost, and devastated. Buddhism tells us that this clinging, this attachment, is at the root of suffering. It's like holding on to something tightly with all your strength, only to find that it slips away or breaks in your hands. The more tightly we grip, the more painful the loss. And here's the profound truth that Buddha taught. Nothing in life is permanent. Not the people we love, not the possessions we treasure, not even the feelings or states of mind that we rely on for comfort. Everything changes. Everything passes. The world around us is in a constant state of flux, and to attach ourselves to it as though it's solid, unchanging, is like trying to hold water in our hands. The tighter we hold, the quicker it slips through our fingers. Think about it. What happens when we place our happiness in external things, when we believe that something or someone outside of ourselves will make us happy? When we place our happiness in something that is constantly changing, we set ourselves up for inevitable disappointment. The pain of loss is not just about losing a thing, it's about losing the illusion that we could control it or keep it forever. In Buddhism, this attachment to external things is called clinging. It's when we hold on too tightly to what we think will bring us joy or satisfaction, but in doing so, we trap ourselves in cycles of craving and despair. The more we cling, the more we suffer. But here's the real breakthrough in Buddhist philosophy. The key is not to stop loving, caring, or engaging with life. The point is not to become cold or detached, but rather to learn to love freely, to love without possessing, to care without controlling. Imagine a love that flows freely, like a river that moves through the landscape, accepting everything in its path without clinging. This is the kind of love that Buddhism teaches us to cultivate, a love that is not rooted in attachment, but in pure, unselfish giving and receiving. When we stop clinging to the things we can't control, we discover something incredible. True freedom. True freedom comes when we let go of our need to hold on to things, when we stop trying to possess and control. We can then experience life fully, moment by moment, without the heavy burden of constantly worrying about the future or the fear of losing what we hold dear. True freedom is not about having everything we want. It's about realizing that we don't need to hold on to anything tightly to be happy. Let me ask you this: how much of your suffering comes from your attachments? Think about your relationships, your possessions, your desires, your hopes for the future. How often do you feel anxious about the possibility of losing something? How much of your pain comes from fearing change, fearing the unknown, fearing the loss of what you hold precious? In our world, it's so easy to become attached to our idea of success, our idea of happiness, our idea of what we believe life should be like. But these attachments only cloud our vision, making us blind to the present moment, the beauty of life as it is, right here, right now. This is where Buddhism offers us a profound and liberating shift in perspective. The practice of non-attachment doesn't mean detaching ourselves from love or care. It means engaging with life without fear. It means accepting the transitory nature of everything and living in the present, free from the grasping that causes so much pain. It's about understanding that joy, peace, and happiness do not come from holding tightly to what we want, but from letting go, from trusting that life will unfold as it is meant to. And that's where the real peace comes, in letting go. When we learn to let go of attachment, we begin to live in a state of equanimity, a peaceful balance where we can experience both the highs and lows of life without becoming overwhelmed by either. We no longer depend on external circumstances to dictate our happiness or define who we are. Instead, we become anchored in the present moment, in the here and now, and we discover a deeper, more enduring form of joy that doesn't depend on the fleeting conditions of the world. The Buddha's teachings on attachment and suffering are not just abstract concepts or philosophical ideas. They are practical, actionable insights that can transform our lives. They invite us to see the world with clearer eyes, to let go of the chains that bind us, and to embrace a life of true freedom. This freedom isn't a distant ideal. It's something we can begin to cultivate right now, in this moment, by practicing mindfulness, by learning to let go of our attachments, by cultivating love and compassion without clinging. In doing so, we can experience a life of peace, joy, and freedom that is not dependent on what we have or don't have, but on our ability to live fully, deeply, and freely in each moment. Now think about the concept of impermanence for a moment. Life, as we know it, is constantly changing. People change, situations change, even our thoughts and feelings change. And yet, in our desire for stability, we try to resist change, to hold on to things that are slipping away, to create a false sense of security. But the truth is, everything we cling to is temporary. The beauty of impermanence, though, is that it teaches us to appreciate the present moment more fully. When we let go of our desire to make things last forever, we can truly appreciate them as they are, in the here and now. Buddhism teaches us that attachment is not the problem itself, but our clinging to it, the desire to possess, to control, to make permanent what is inherently fleeting. When we let go of that clinging, we free ourselves from the cycle of suffering. We no longer need to fear loss because we understand that nothing can be lost forever. Everything we experience is a gift, even if it's just for a moment. That moment, that experience, is enough. The path to freedom, the path to peace, begins with letting go. It is a practice, a journey of the heart, a continual process of releasing what we do not need to hold on to. It is the art of enjoying life without attaching our happiness to it. And in this freedom, we find the true peace and contentment that we seek, not because we have everything we want, but because we are no longer bound by the need to hold on to anything at all. This, then, is the heart of the Buddhist path. To live with an open heart, to love with an open hand, to experience the world fully but without clinging. In doing so, we come to realize that true happiness is not found in what we hold on to, but in what we are willing to let go. The more we let go, the freer we become, and the more we experience the boundless peace that comes from living in harmony with the natural flow of life. Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to take you on a journey through the heart of one of the most profound teachings in Buddhism, the wisdom of acceptance. This wisdom is not simply a philosophical concept, nor is it a distant idea. To be admired, it's a deeply practical tool for finding peace and serenity amidst the chaos of everyday life. It's a tool that, when embraced fully, has the power to transform the way we experience every moment of our existence. Acceptance, you see, is often misunderstood. In a world that constantly encourages us to fight, to strive, to conquer, acceptance might seem like an odd or even passive response. We're told to push harder, to go after what we want with unyielding force. Society celebrates those who relentlessly chase after their goals, never stopping, always moving forward, constantly striving for more. There's nothing wrong with ambition, and there's nothing wrong with pursuing your dreams. But what if I told you that there's another way? A way of embracing life, not by fighting against it, but by flowing with it? This is the power of acceptance, and paradoxically, this is the path to peace. You see, life rarely unfolds the way we expect. In fact, most of the time, it doesn't. We make plans, set our intentions, and believe that if we work hard enough, things will go the way we envision. But life has a way of surprising us with the unexpected. Some of these surprises are small, delays, setbacks, or changes in the routine. Others are much larger, sudden losses, heartbreaks, illnesses, and even tragedies. In moments like these, when things don't go as planned, our first instinct is often to resist. We fight against what is happening, we push back, we feel frustration, anger and confusion. We ask ourselves, why is this happening to me? Why now? This isn't fair. But in those moments of struggle, we are forgetting something very important, something that the wisdom of Buddhism teaches us. We can't control everything in life, and when we try to, we only create more suffering for ourselves. We cannot change the course of the river once we are in it, but what we can change is the way we flow with it. That is the essence of acceptance. Acceptance isn't about giving up. It's not about resignation. It's not about saying, well, whatever happens, happens, and I'll just sit here and do nothing. No, acceptance is a dynamic, active process. It's about recognizing that some things are beyond our control and that fighting against them only keeps us stuck in a cycle of resistance. By accepting what we cannot change, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. We stop struggling against the current, and instead we learn to float with it. And here's the beauty of it. When we begin to accept life as it is, we open ourselves to the lessons that each moment holds, even the ones we don't understand at first. Buddhism teaches us that everything happens for a reason. That doesn't mean everything that happens is good or even desirable, but it means that everything is part of a greater tapestry of life, woven together in ways we may not immediately comprehend. The Zen tradition, in particular, is rich with stories that illustrate the power of acceptance in the face of uncertainty and misfortune. One story in particular stands out, one that I'm sure many of you will find inspiring. There was once a farmer living in a simple village whose life was turned upside down by a series of events that, at first glance, appeared to be the worst kind of misfortune. One day, the farmer's horse ran away. The neighbors gathered around, expressing their sympathy for the poor farmer, saying, "This is a terrible thing. How will you survive without your horse?" But the farmer, calm and composed, simply said, "Who knows if this is good or bad?" The neighbors were puzzled, and they didn't understand his perspective. They assumed that the loss of the horse was a disaster, but the farmer didn't jump to conclusions. He didn't resist the situation. He didn't dwell in despair. Instead, he accepted it as it was and moved forward with life, knowing that the full story had yet to unfold. Weeks later, the horse returned. Not only did the horse come back, but it brought along a group of wild horses. The farmer's fortune had seemingly changed. The neighbors now said, "What great luck! Your horse has returned, and now you have even more horses." But once again, the farmer responded, "Who knows if this is good or bad?" He wasn't swayed by the opinions of others. He didn't attach any judgment to the situation. He simply observed it for what it was and accepted it. Then, one of the farmer's sons decided to tame one of the wild horses, but in the process he fell and broke his leg. The neighbors, ever ready to offer their judgment, gathered around once more. "Such terrible luck! Your son has broken his leg. Now he won't be able to help you with the work." But the farmer, ever steady, replied, "Who knows if this is good or bad?" He didn't see it as a tragedy. He simply accepted it as part of the unfolding story. As it turned out, a few weeks later, an army came through the village, recruiting young men to fight in a war. But because of his injury, the farmer's son was passed over. All the able-bodied young men were drafted, but the son with his broken leg was spared. What had seemed like a series of unfortunate events, the loss of the horse, the arrival of the wild horses, the injury to the son, had, in the end, turned out to be a blessing. The son was saved from the horrors of war. The moral of this story is clear. We cannot always understand the purpose of what is happening in our lives in the moment. Life is filled with twists and turns, surprises that we may interpret as either good or bad, but in truth, we often don't have the complete picture. It's only with the gift of hindsight that we can begin to see how everything fits together. In the end, the farmer's acceptance of each event, no matter how it appeared, led him to peace and wisdom. So, my friends, what can we learn from this story? Acceptance is the key to peace. It is the key to unlocking a deeper understanding of life's mysteries. It doesn't mean that we passively accept everything that happens to us. It means that we approach life with an open heart, with the understanding that not everything is within our control, and that every moment holds the potential for growth, even if we don't see it right away. When we practice acceptance, we stop fighting against the natural flow of life. We stop trying to control every outcome. Instead, we begin to trust in the process of life. We allow ourselves to let go of the need for certainty, for perfection, and for immediate results. And in doing so, we open ourselves to peace, to freedom, and to the deep wisdom that comes from accepting life as it is. Buddhism teaches us that peace is not something to be sought outside of ourselves. It's not something to be acquired through external achievements or possessions. It is something that comes from within, through the practice of acceptance. By embracing life with all of its challenges, we discover a profound sense of peace and contentment, even in the face of hardship. In the fast-paced world we live in today, it seems as though our minds are constantly racing. We find ourselves reflecting on the past, ruminating on moments we can never change, or projecting our thoughts into the future, filled with what-ifs, anxieties, and concerns. We are often so caught up in this whirlwind of thoughts that we forget the one thing that truly matters, the present moment. We live in a world where the past holds us captive and the future keeps us in a state of worry. But what about now? What about this moment? The truth is, the only real moment we have is the one we are experiencing right now. Mindfulness, the ancient practice that has been embraced across various cultures for centuries, offers a path back to that precious moment. It is the art of being fully aware, of anchoring ourselves in the present, and of shedding the weight of unnecessary distractions, regrets, and anxieties. Mindfulness isn't merely about finding stillness or meditating on a cushion. It's about living with full awareness in every action, every breath, and every interaction we have. In Buddhism, the mind is often likened to a restless monkey, hopping from one thought to another, rarely sitting still. It is a mind filled with constant chatter, forever moving from one memory to the next, from one worry to the next, never in one place for too long. The practice of mindfulness aims to tame this monkey, to train it to stay present and calm, to focus on the here and now. Through practices like meditation, we can start to rein in the wild nature of the mind, to bring it back to the present moment. The teachings of the Buddha are clear in their message that suffering arises from our attachment to the past and our fixation on the future. When we hold on to regrets about what has already happened or fears about what might happen, we miss the beauty of the present. The present moment is the only space where we can find peace, clarity, and joy. It is in this space that life happens, and it is in this space that we can truly live. Mindfulness, then, is a practice that calls us to pause, to stop for just a moment and become aware of what is happening right now. It's about taking a deep breath, noticing how we feel, and tuning in to what's going on in our bodies, our minds, and our hearts. It's about bringing our full attention to the task at hand, whether it's eating, walking, talking, or simply sitting in silence. The key to mindfulness is being fully present, without judgment, without rushing, and without distraction. Let's consider a simple act: eating. Most of us rush through meals, barely noticing the food we are consuming, let alone appreciating it. We eat in front of a screen or while thinking about the next thing we need to do. We might taste the food, but we rarely savor it. When we practice, mindfulness eating becomes an opportunity to connect with the present moment. We can pay attention to the texture, the flavors, the aroma. We can experience gratitude for the food we have, for the nourishment it provides, and for the ability to enjoy it in that moment. Eating becomes an act of mindfulness, a chance to slow down and be present. Similarly, when we listen to others, how often do we truly listen? How often do we find ourselves distracted, thinking about what we're going to say next, or multitasking while someone is speaking to us? Mindful listening requires us to fully engage with the person in front of us. It's about putting aside our own thoughts and reactions and giving our full attention to the speaker. When we listen mindfully, we are able to understand and connect on a deeper level, not just hear words, but feel the emotion and intention behind them. Every moment, no matter how ordinary, is an opportunity for mindfulness. From the way we walk to the way we breathe, every action is a chance to return to the present. By living with awareness, we are no longer caught up in the endless cycle of distraction. We begin to notice the beauty of the world around us, the warmth of the sun on our skin, the sound of birds singing, the texture of the ground beneath our feet. Life is happening all around us, but so often we miss it because we are lost in our minds. Through mindfulness, we can begin to release the grip that the past and future have on us. We let go of the weight of regret and the anxiety of what might come. We realize that the only time we truly have is now, and in that realization, we discover freedom. Freedom from worry, freedom from regret, and freedom from the need to constantly chase happiness. The present moment holds the potential for peace, joy, and connection. It's here, in the now, that we can find what we've been searching for all along. Living with mindfulness is not about escaping from the world or withdrawing from our responsibilities. On the contrary, it's about engaging more deeply with life, bringing a sense of awareness and presence to everything we do. It's about responding to life with clarity and calmness, rather than reacting impulsively or out of habit. When we are mindful, we are able to act with intention, to choose how we respond, and to live with purpose. As we embark on this journey of mindfulness, we begin to understand that happiness is not something to be chased or sought after in the future. It is already here, in this moment. It is in the simple things, the feeling of the wind on our face, the laughter of a friend, the quiet peace of sitting alone. We often search for happiness in external circumstances, but mindfulness teaches us that it is within us, waiting to be discovered. So let us begin the practice of mindfulness in every part of our lives. Let us approach each moment with full awareness, embracing each breath, each step, and each encounter as a gift. Let us cultivate a deep connection to the present, allowing the mind to rest and the heart to open. In doing so, we will find that life, in all its simplicity, is already enough. It is already here, right in front of us, in this very moment. In the words of the Buddha, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." This is the essence of mindfulness, the ability to be fully present, to be fully alive, and to experience the beauty and joy that is always available to us, right here, right now. As we practice mindfulness, we cultivate a life of awareness, of gratitude, and of peace. We learn to let go of the constant chatter in our minds and embrace the stillness of the present. And in that stillness, we discover the profound truth that happiness, contentment, and peace are not distant goals to be attained, but the natural state of being when we are fully present in the moment. This is the path of mindfulness, a path that leads us home to ourselves, to the present moment, and to the peace and joy that reside there. Let us walk this path together, with open hearts and minds, ready to experience the fullness of life as it unfolds, moment by moment.